looking at our warm-up, which is 6.1, it is discussing the missing dots. So it says how many dots are in the in the image and how do you see them? All right, so looking at this right here, how many dots do you have and how do you see them? I'm going to give you a minute. Go. All right, do you need another minute or are you okay? All right, so how many dots do you have in this image? Let's start with that.
30.
Raise your hands. All right, so Charles.
30.
All right, and Charles, how did you figure out that there are 30? So how do you see them?
Well, there's 12 on each row. So I just did the
There's
three.
12 on each row. What do you
Sorry,
mean?
6.
Okay, so there's 6 on each row.
And I just did the 6 and the 3. So I know that was 18. And then I just counted the other ones.
So you grouped these first 3 rows together and then you just counted the remainder.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Did anybody do something different? What did you do, Haley?
I multiplied the top row length times the list, and I knew there were 6 missing, so I minus 6.
Okay, so you did length times width minus 6, and you got 30. Okay, cool. All right, anybody else do something different? Cooper.
What? So I kind of did with the last one. I did just I saw it as like a square and then like a hole in it. So what I did was make them tight, and then that's 6 by 6 or 6 by 6, 36, and then minus the hole, which is 2 by 3, so 6. So 36 minus 6 is 30.
Okay, so length times width minus 6. All right, did anybody do something different? Yes.
I took the first 2 dots at the top and multiplied them by 6 and put the rest down, but I counted the rest 2.
So kind of like what I did.
Kind of, except I multiplied a different part and added the rest.
Okay. And no matter really what the strategy is that the few of us have shared out, what did all of us come to the answer? 30. So it doesn't matter, again, what strategy you're using. Now, obviously, I'm glad that I see this one because this is kind of where we're going and where we want to be. You know, that should kind of be our mindset, but that is not the only way that you can solve this problem. So please do not think that. All right. The next part, 6.2, more areas of parallelograms. You're going to find the area of each parallelogram and you're going to show your reasoning. So slide over to these 4 on the top. All right, just be careful because let's talk about parallelograms real quick. Do you use the slant?
No.
No. You use the slant for nothing, especially when you're finding area, but you never use the slant. And then for D, what's a little bit different with D than with A, B, and C? What do you guys see? Michaela.
It's gridded.
Okay,
So it doesn't give you the numbers, you have to find them.
exactly. So please make sure with D that you identify your base and your height with the words base and height are H and B. All right, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. If you finish before then, please go ahead and stand up for me. Go ahead. You're working by yourself right now.
When you're reasoning, it's better work.
Yes. Sit down and actually do the work. All right. So let's go over these. First and foremost, what is the formula to find the area of a parallelogram? Raise your hands. Caleb.
Base times height.
So base times height. So that's essentially kind of what we want you using at this point. All right, so for the first one, raise your hand and tell me what were the two numbers you multiplied. River. For A,
Oh, it's like 6 times 10.
which gave you, nope. Wrong. What's wrong with
Oh,
6?
67.
Yes, sir. Much better. All right. Everyone should have got that one right. We good? Thumbs up. All right. Why is this not focused? Okay, so now we're going to skip over B for a second. We're going to move down to C. So what is my base and what is my height in C? Mason. 9 and 7. But we have 8 over here. So, like, I'm a little confused because it looks like this is my base. So how do I know that 9 is my base and not 8, or 8 is my base and not 9? Mason? Or you don't know how to explain it? That's okay. That's all right. Jeremiah.
Because if you turn it like where like the 7 like currently is, you can see that like 8 is like the sides, but 9 isn't.
So by simply turning my page a little bit, I'm able to see that this is actually, could be the base, right? Okay, what's the other rule that tells us that 9 is going to be my base? Layla, you had your hand up originally. What were you gonna say? You're right, 8 was slanted, obviously, but there is a key thing that you gotta know for parallelograms and triangles. You must know this rule. It's gotta happen. Cooper, B.
I was gonna say, like, because of where the 7 is, like, it can't be the 8.
Okay, let's go with that. So you said because where the 7 is.
Yeah.
So what does the 7 do with the line labeled 9,
The right angle.
which is also known as what kind of lines?
Perpendicular.
Yes. So your base and your height with parallelograms and triangles, it must form that right angle, those perpendicular lines. So that is the other reason if you do turn your paper, you see that this height is perpendicular to this one, not the 8. So again, this is telling us that this one is our height, this one is our base, and we're gonna do 7 times 9, which gives us what? Raise your hand and tell me. Joseph,
63
No.
centimeters squared.
yes. All right, so now let's slide up to B. Which two numbers are base and which two numbers are going to be our base and our height? Olivia. 15 and 8, and why do you know that? Because they form that right angle. And if you turn your page, so this is gonna be my base, this is gonna be my height. So when I do 15 times 8, raise your hand, tell me what do I get? Brock? Alright, and then the last one. Down here, so we have no numbers, it's on a grid. We gotta identify our base and we have to identify our height. Michaela?
Our base is 7, our height is 5, and our area is 35 centimeters.
Okay, but that doesn't tell me how you got 7, how you got 5. Remember, you gotta label your base and your height.
So you go like outside of the shape and you see the white squares and you count how many are in there between the two sidelines.
So on the bottom or the top?
Either one,
Which one do you want to do?
the bottom.
Okay,
is the
so you
base.
said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep. And then you go from the highest point in in the shape, so where the gray ones are. And I usually do the left since that's leveled with the base. So then you just count how many squares go from the base to the highest point.
So from here to here,
Yes.
okay? So she said right here represents our base, and then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, sorry, represents our height. Can we also put our height over here?
Yes.
So then that extends our base 2 units, right?
But you're just moving the other triangle on the left side over to the right side.
So you can also decompose.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna ask, so that means then, instead of it being 7, it's gonna be 9.
No.
Why not? We just extended our base out, so why is it, raise your hand, why is it not 9? Cooper,
Because when you took the other piece out, you took the 2 out, but you put it to the other side, so it's still 7 and not 9 because you basically just took a piece out and then added it somewhere else.
so I essentially, excuse me, essentially took this side and moved it to the other side.
Yes.
Okay, so yet another question. Let's say I'm gonna extend the top base out, and then I extend this height down. Does that still work?
Yes.
So then I'm gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to it.
No.
Raise your hand and tell me why not. Why am I not adding 5? Because I just extended the base. I didn't move anything. I just extended this base all the way out here and made my height over here. So why am I not adding those 5 extra blocks in? Ethan,
Because you're already bringing it out to find the height.
say it again.
You're only bringing it out to find the height.
You're only bringing it out to find that height. Your height can be anywhere along this bottom line and this top line. It does not have to be inside of that shape. Does that make sense? That does not mean you are extending your base. It simply means that you are just extending your base without adding it, area to, because your shape is not being shaded all the way out there. All right, let's look. Oh, so we did 7 times 5 equals 35. Not centimeters. Do we know? Well, I guess we do. Just kidding. I lied. You're right.
Yeah, it says in the top right.
You're right. See, I wasn't looking at the key. All right, number 2. It says in parallelogram B of the first question, what is the corresponding height for the base that is 10 centimeters long? So now we're looking back up here. So if they're saying that this is now the base, what is my height? This is, think about it a little bit. Haley, what do you think? Nope. It's not 15. Christian, what do you think? 150? Nope. Can't be more than the area. Jeremiah?
7.
Nope. Gabriel,
12.
how did you figure that out?
Because 10 times what equals 120.
We did have the answer. Didn't we find the area
Yes.
in the first time around? We found the area. We found the total, correct?
Yes.
This didn't change the area. It just changed where your base was. All right? So, guys, listen. So then you did 10 times what equals 120? 12, but mathematically, how can we also figure this out? What do we need to do instead? Yes. So you would ultimately do 120 divided by 10, which gives you your 12. All right, so your height is going to equal 12. So just something to think about. Don't get confused and think that it's got to be one of these numbers, because we know it's not one of the numbers, because if this is our base, it's got to form what kind of line, Cooper? Perpendicular. All right. Nope. Number 3. It says 2 different parallelograms P and Q have an area of 20 square units. Neither parallelogram is a rectangle. So you cannot draw a rectangle. So flip your paper over. So you are coming up with 2 parallelograms that are not rectangles, that are different, that equal 20 square units. Go. You have 3 minutes. They're not a rectangle. They're a parallelogram. They're not a rectangle. And they have to equal 20 square units. Don't overthink it. Shh. Work. You're making 2 different shapes on your grid that are not rectangle that equal 20 square units. They both have to. finish before the time is up, please stand up. Make sure you have numbers on your sheet. Can't be away from it. There should not be any talking right now. Alright, so how many of you guys were just absolutely puzzled? And be honest. You were just like, I don't have any idea what to do. Okay, so thank you. Shh. Thank you to those of you who are brave enough to say, I didn't know what to do. All right, so I'm going to talk to you guys for the next 2 minutes. What two numbers multiplied together gives you 20? So raise your hand and just those that were confused. Just those that were confused. So what two numbers multiplied together gives you 20? 5 times 4. So Haley, can you use those two numbers to guide you to draw a parallelogram? All right, so that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to do 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you said 4, right? So my height, 1, 2, 3, 4. So by simply taking the two factors that you told me, I can draw a parallelogram, right? So what's another set, for those of you who weren't real sure where to go or how to start, what was another set of two factors that you can use? Raheem, you weren't sure what to do? Okay. Emily, what's another set of two factors? 10 times?
2.
Yeah. All right, so over here, I'm going to do 10. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and then you said 2, right? All right, so there's my 2, there's my 10. And I totally cannot draw, so do not judge me. All right, so there's another one. So not even necessarily knowing exactly what you're doing, using the knowledge that you do have, the fact that you know what one number times another number is going to give you 20 is. All right, is there another one? Is there another one that you could do? Brenna? 1 times 20. All right, and I don't know, do you have?
Yeah.
Probably do. She's gonna have to do the whole thing.
I'm pretty sure there's one left.
There's one left. I'm not drawing it, just so you know. But you can do 1 times 20. All right, are there any other factors that we can use? No, there are no other factors. But using the knowledge that you have, are any of these a rectangle? Even though it might look like one, I promise you it's not. All right. Any questions about parallelograms? How do you identify the base and the height? Raise your hand and tell me. How do you identify the base and the height? Joseph.
You identify the height by using the perpendicular line.
So it's got to be, the height is perpendicular to the base.
Yes.
So it's got to make that right angle. It's got to make perpendicular lines. A lot of times your especially when you're dealing with triangles, but parallelograms as well. Your dotted line tells you that's the height. So that's another little tidbit. What is the formula to find the area of a parallelogram? Haley? Base times height. All right, so do me a favor. Go ahead and take this paper, fold it in half, and glue it down. We do not need to have a conversation. Absolutely not. Why are you talking? I just said we don't need to have a conversation. All right, you are going to get your cool down. Do not start your cool down yet. Raise your hand if you took your Ames Web login info and glued it into your math notebook. Ooh, Steve would be so upset. All right, if you do not have your Ames Web login information, I can't even get it for you. It's just gonna take a tad bit longer. All right, do not start your cool down yet. Start it once I'm done giving all of the instructions. Okay, yeah, throw it away, and then there's a little basket on that shelf. Yeah, just grab a couple. All right, again, don't start yet. I need y'all to be listening and understanding what the expectation is for the red acne subject. Woo! The remainder of the class period. So like you can just never, like when you turn the page, just never turn the page. Like you don't have to turn the all again. Leave them face down. You don't need to touch them. Leave them where they are. Leave them. Okay. You are going to complete your cool down. Once I tell you the directions. This needs to get turned into the third period round, like every other day. Then you are going to work on your math Ames Web. There are two of them. One is, I don't even know where they are. They're like, one's located at the very, very, very bottom, and then one's located at the very, very top. There's about 17 other ones in between. You're looking for the math grade 6 fall whatever test. Okay, if you cannot find it, please just come in and get it to me. I'm not sure what you got, and I'll show you. Second, if you don't have your login information, like if you don't have it, it is not a big deal. It's just gonna take me a little bit longer because I have to write them out. Okay, again, not a big deal if you don't have them, but don't come over there and stand in the line and talk. When you are finished with your cool down and your Ames Web, I highly recommend working on some Imagine Math if you have everything else done and you aren't missing anything. Okay, also, I have to go look because I don't remember, but if you know what grades you got on, well, you should know because you can go on to SchoolNet, but if you want to start redoing your Unit 1 test, you can also start that, because guess what? I've announced that you can redo it. You have 3 days. Today is Wednesday. It's due by Friday. Okay, you can work on that at home as well, but you might want to start in class to just ask questions if you need help. Okay, so Imagine Math, make it work, start redoing your unit test. test, whatever you feel is most important for you to do. Okay? Side note, if we start having less and less people get their match and math done, I'm gonna have to start taking that grade, which I really don't want to. So please make sure you're also getting that done as well. Alright, questions? Raise your, yes.
So we're allowed to redo tests, quizzes, and cool down.
And so the tests and the quizzes you can redo, you can't redo the quiz, the mid-assessment, that's too far. But the unit 1 test, you may redo. And you'll use the same code. I'll just extend the time frame, because I don't know if it's closed or not. And then the cool downs are a 1-day turnaround. So like the day I give you a cool down back, if you have a 50 or below, you can redo it, but it has to be turned in the very next day. If it's not turned in the next day, then it's a no-go. Yes.
Does that count for like past cool down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, and this is also another good thing as to why, like, I don't want you to glue these in right away, like when you go to the basket, because it becomes me collecting notebooks, and I don't really want to collect your notebooks, because I can't find anything, so I don't want to be responsible for your notebook. So, just be mindful, like, as soon as you see your grade, if you have a grade that you feel like you need to do better on and it's below 50, then you are absolutely welcome. Alright, any questions? Alright, go ahead and get started then. Why are we talking?